Emily from Austin dumped Tom. I want a divorce, and regretted it 48 hours later. Dave's infidelity, Tom's list of women, and canceled Hawaii rocked her world. Can she save her marriage with one foot out the door? The sun dipped low over Austin, Texas, painting the sky a bruised orange. The faint smell of barbecue drifted through the air, mingling with the hum of cicadas. On the porch of a modest ranch-style house, Emily sat, her fingers wrapped around a cold Lone Star beer. At 35, she was a marketing manager who'd once dreamed of New York's glittering skyline, dreams she traded for a life with Tom. Tonight, though, those buried ambitions clawed their way back. She took a sip, the bitter tang sharpening her resolve, and turned to her husband. Tom, I want a divorce. The words hung heavy, like smoke from a grill gone cold. Tom, 38, sat across from her in a weathered Adirondack chair, his calloused hands resting on his knees. He was a builder, had clawed his way up from swinging hammers in the Texas heat to running his own construction company. His face, tanned and lined from years under the sun, stayed still. No flinch, no shout, just silence. Emily had braced for a fight. Maybe a yell, maybe a slammed door. She'd pictured it all day at the office, rehearsing the moment. But this quiet was unnerving. He leaned back, crossing his arms. Okay, he said finally, his voice low and steady, like the rumble of a Chevy pickup. Let's do a 90-day separation. Live how you want. See if that's what you really need. Emily blinked. What? You said you want freedom, right? Tom's gray eyes locked on hers, unreadable. So take it. 90 days. We live apart, figure things out. If you still want out after that, I won't fight you. Her beer bottle clinked against the porch railing as she set it down, harder than she meant to. She'd expected him to beg, to demand answers, maybe even throw that, damn, I built this life for us speech she'd heard 100 times. Not this. Not a calm surrender. Her chest tightened. Freedom was what she'd craved, space to breathe beyond the routine of school runs and late-night invoices. 15 years married, 2 daughters, a house with a mortgage they'd just refinanced. She loved Tom, sure, but lately it felt like love wasn't enough. She wanted more. And yet, his response left her reeling. You're serious? She asked, voice sharp. Dead serious. He stood, brushing dust off his jeans, and grabbed his keys from the table. I'll start looking for a place tomorrow. You keep the house for now. Tom, wait. She stood too, her sandals scuffing the wood. We don't have to rush this. He turned, one hand on the screen door. You said you're unhappy, Em. That's not rushing. That's a fact. The door creaked as he pushed it open, then paused. I've been a good husband, a good dad. If that's not enough, I won't chain you here. The door swung shut behind him, and she heard the growl of his pickup firing up in the driveway. Tires crunched gravel as he pulled away, headlights slicing through the dusk. Emily sank back in her chair, the beer bottle sweating in her grip. She'd wanted a reaction, something to push against. Instead, he'd handed her the keys to her cage and walked away. Freedom, sure, but why did it feel like a trap? Inside, the house was quiet. Too quiet. The girls, Sophie, 14, and Mia, 10, were at a sleepover. She'd planned it that way, picking tonight to drop the bomb. No interruptions, no tears to dodge. Just her and Tom. Now, alone with the hum of the fridge and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog, she wondered if she'd miscalculated. She pulled out her phone, thumb hovering over a text to Linda, her thrice-divorced friend who'd egged her on. You deserve this, girl. Take what's yours. But she didn't send it. Not yet. The Lone Star was worn now, flat. She tipped it back anyway, staring at the spot where Tom had sat. His words echoed. Live how you want. Fine. She'd show him. She'd been eyeing Dave from work, tall, charming, with a salesman's grin that made her stomach flip. Maybe that was the more she needed. But as the Texas night closed in, a flicker of doubt crept up her spine. What if Tom wasn't bluffing? What if he was already one step ahead? The Austin morning broke hot and sticky, the kind of heat that made coffee feel like a punishment. Emily stood in her kitchen, staring at the coffee maker as it gurgled. She hadn't slept. Tom's pickup hadn't rolled back into the driveway last night, and the silence left her restless. Her phone buzzed. Linda, texting, how'd he take it? Spiel. Emily smirked, typing back. Too easy. He's given me 90 days. Linda's reply was instant. He's bluffing. You've got him on a leash. Emily wasn't so sure. Work was her escape. At the office, she buried herself in spreadsheets, but her eyes kept drifting to Dave. He leaned against the water cooler, all charm and dark hair, a shark tattoo peeking from his rolled-up sleeve. He'd been flirting for weeks, little comments about her smile, brushing her arm in the elevator. She didn't know much about him, just that he was new, a sales guy with a voice that could sell sand in a desert. Today, he caught her staring and winked. Her pulse jumped. This was the more she'd craved. Freedom. A thrill Tom hadn't sparked in years. Back home, the girls were still at their sleepover, and the house felt like a hollow shell. She was pouring a glass of wine when the front door creaked open. Tom stepped in, his work boots scuffing the hardwood, a crumpled paper in his hand. "No, hello, no, how was your day?" He just tossed the sheet onto the kitchen island like a gauntlet. "What's this?" Emily asked, setting her glass down. "Women who want me," he said, voice flat. "Figured you should know, since you're exploring." He tapped the paper. Kate's at the top. Her stomach dropped. Kate, her younger sister, the fitness blogger with a perfect Instagram life and a chip on her shoulder. Always jealous. Always poking at Emily's boring marriage. "You're kidding," she snapped, snatching the list. There was in Tom's jagged scrawl. Kate. Jenny, secretary. Lisa, Waffle House waitress. 5 names total, some with little notes, M for married, for maybe. Her hand shook. "This is a joke, right?" Tom shrugged, leaning against the counter. "Nope, just catching up. You got your boyfriend lined up, don't you?" "Dave from work?" Her breath caught. "How do you?" Word gets around. He pushed off the counter, stepping closer. "Sylvia, your boss's secretary, saw you two at lunch. Said he's in your office every day. Old college pal, huh?" His tone was calm, but his eyes burned. "He's just a friend," she lied, the wine glass cold against her palm. Her mind raced, elevator rides with Dave, his hand grazing her back, the way he'd leaned in yesterday, whispering she looked stunning. Nothing big, not yet. But Tom's stare cut through her. "Sure." He turned, heading for the door, then stopped. "Oh, and Kate? She told me last 4th of July, half drunk on Shiner. She'd take my bed if you ever screwed up. Guess she's getting her shot." The door slammed, rattling the windows. Emily crumpled the list, her nails digging into the paper. She saw it now. Tom wasn't just giving her space. He was playing the game too. A memory flashed. Years ago, broke and newly married, Tom working nights to buy her that beat-up Ford. She'd kissed him under a sodium streetlight, grease on his shirt, promising forever. Now, she tossed the paper in the trash and grabbed her phone. "Linda, he's got a list. Kate's on it. What do I do?" Linda's reply buzzed. "He's messing with you. Call his bluff." But as Emily paced, Dave's wink replayed in her head, and Kate's smug face loomed. She poured more wine, the kitchen spinning. Freedom was supposed to feel good. Not like this, like she'd lit a match and handed it to Tom. What if he wasn't bluffing? What if Dave was a mistake? The trash can stare back, the list peeking out. She fished it out, smoothing it flat. 5 names. 5 threats. And Tom knew about Dave. The game had just begun. The Austin afternoon simmered, the heat pressing against the windows of Emily's house like a fist. She stood at the kitchen sink, staring at Tom's list, now taped to the fridge, a taunt she couldn't ignore. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. "Linda, he's bluffing, girl. Own this." Emily wanted to believe it, but the ground was shifting under her. Tom hadn't come home last night, and the girls were due back from their sleepover in an hour. She needed answers. She called him, straight to voicemail. "Tom, we need to talk." "Call me." She hung up, her thumb hovering over Dave's number. His last text, "Lunch tomorrow? You're too good for this town," glowed on the screen. She smirked, but it faded fast. What did Tom know? Sylvia's gossip wasn't proof. She grabbed her keys, needing air, and drove to South Congress, the trendy strip where hipsters sipped cold brew. Maybe caffeine would clear her head. At the coffee shop, she froze. Through the window, Tom sat at a table, laughing with Kate. Her sister's blonde hair bounced as she leaned in, her hand brushing his arm. Emily's chest burned. She stormed in, the bell jangling like a gunshot. "What the hell is this?" Tom looked up unfazed. "Hey, Eminesia. Just business. Kate's redoing my company's website." Kate smirked, sipping her latte. "Relax, cease. You wanted space, right?" "Business, my ass," Emily snapped, slamming her purse on the table. "You're on his damn list." Tom pulled out his wallet, tossing a 10 on the table. "Believe what you want. About a lease to sign. He stood, brushing past her. Oh, and those Hawaii tickets? Canceled. Take Dave instead. He dropped the torn stubs beside her purse and walked out, his boots echoing on the hardwood. Emily's jaw dropped. Hawaii, their 15th anniversary surprise. She'd begged for that trip for years. Kate shrugged. Guess he's moving on. Emily snatched the stubs, fury boiling over, and chased him to the parking lot. His pickup roared to life, George Strait's heartache crooning through the open window. Tom, stop, she yelled. He rolled the window down, eyes cold. 72 hours, Em. Convince me to stay, or I sign the papers Monday. What? Her voice cracked. You heard me. Clock's ticking. He peeled out, dust swirling in his wake. She stood there, clutching the torn tickets, the Texas sun scorching her skin. Back inside, her phone rang, her mom. She answered, bracing herself. Emily, what's this about a divorce? Her mother's voice was shrill. Jeff saw Tom at Home Depot. Said he's renting an apartment. Tell me you're not throwing this away. Mom, it's not. Don't lie to me. Her dad cut in on speaker. We raised you better than this. Who's the guy? There's no guy. She lied, her throat tight. It's just a break. A break. Her mom sobbed. Jeff's heartbroken for those girls. You're tearing this family apart. The call ended with a click. Emily sank onto a bench, the world spinning. 72 hours. She texted Linda. He's not bluffing. Canceled Hawaii. Gave me 72 hours. Linda's reply. He's scared. Double down. But Emily wasn't sure who was scared now. She drove home, the pickup's dust still in her mind. Sophie and Mia burst through the door minutes later, giggling about their sleepover. Then Sophie stopped, staring at the fridge. What's this list? Women who want dad. Her voice trembled. Mom, what's going on? It's nothing. Emily stammered, ripping it down. Just a dumb joke. Sophie's eyes narrowed. You're lying. She stormed upstairs, slamming her door. Mia blinked, confused. Is Daddy leaving? No, sweetie, Emily said, hugging her. But her hand shook. She checked Sophie's room later. Her diary lay open on the bed. Mom's a liar. She's ruining everything. Emily's knees buckled. Tom's ultimatum, Kate's smirk, her parents' rage, Sophie's words. It was all crashing down. 72 hours. The clock was ticking, and she was losing control. The Austin night buzzed with crickets, the air thick and humid. Emily sat on her living room floor, surrounded by chaos. Sophie's diary splayed open, its pages accusing her in black ink, and the torn Hawaii tickets scattered like confetti from a broken dream. 48 hours left on Tom's clock. She called Dave earlier, ending it. His shark tattoo flashed in her mind as he'd begged, one last chance, babe, before she hung up. His wife could have him. She'd texted Linda too. You're done. Never again. No reply. Good riddance. The front door creaked. Tom stepped in, his flannel shirt wrinkled, eyes shadowed. He carried a duffel bag, half-packed, ominous. Girls asleep? He asked, voice gravelly. Yeah, Emily whispered, standing. Tom, please. She grabbed a photo from their wedding off the shelf, shoving it toward him. Look at us. 15 years. I messed up. I'm sorry. He took the frame, staring at their younger selves, her in white, him grinning like he'd won the lottery. Then he set it down, pulling his wedding ring from his pocket. It glinted in the lamplight as he held it between them. Tell me why I should put this back on, he said low and steady. You want it out. You had Dave. Why is it different now? Her throat tightened. Because I was wrong. I thought I needed more, but it's you, it's us. I tore up his picture, Tom. It's over. She stepped closer, voice breaking. Forgive me. Please. He didn't move, just watched her, the ring a silent judge. Then Sophie's door slammed upstairs. She stormed down, diary in hand, her face streaked with tears. You gave Dad away, she yelled, hurling the book at Emily. It hit her chest, pages fluttering. Kate's taking him, isn't she? I saw her name. Sophie, no. Emily reached for her, but Sophie yanked back. You're a liar, Sophie sobbed, running to Tom. He hugged her, his jaw tight. Go to bed, Soph, he said softly. We'll figure this out. She glared at Emily, then stomped off. Mia peeked from the hall, wide-eyed, before scurrying away. Emily sank to her knees, tears spilling. I've ruined everything. How do I fix this? Her hands clawed the carpet, the weight of Sophie's words crushing her. Tom crouched, his shadow falling over her. Now you get it, he said quietly. That's how I felt when you said divorce. He stood, ring still in hand. 72 hours are almost up. I need more than sorry. She looked up, desperate. What do you want? I'll do anything. He paused, then surprised her. What are you doing Friday night? Dinner and a movie. Her breath hitched. What? You heard me. He pocketed the ring, his face unreadable. 48 hours left. Convince me by then. No Dave, no Linda, no games. Just us. He grabbed his duffel and headed for the door, boots heavy on the floor. I'll crash at the apartment. Think hard, Em. The door shut, leaving her alone with the wreckage. She clutched the wedding photo, her reflection staring back. Older, wiser, terrified. Sophie's diary lay open. Mom broke us. Her parents' voices echoed from yesterday. You're tearing this family apart. Kate's smirk, Dave's lies, Tom's ultimatum. It all swirled in her head. 48 hours. A lifeline or a last gasp. She staggered to the kitchen, grabbed a pen, and started writing. Everything Tom meant to her. The late nights he'd worked to build their life. The way he'd danced with her at Mia's school play. His quiet strength. Tears stained the page. She'd beg if she had to. Friday was her shot. Dinner, a movie, a chance to undo the mess. But as she wrote, doubt gnawed. Would he wear that ring again, or walk away for good? The clock ticked on, relentless. Friday night crept into Austin. The sky a deep indigo streaked with city lights. Emily stood in the kitchen, her hands trembling as she smoothed her dress. Navy blue, the one Tom loved. The house was silent. Sophie and Mia were at their grandparents', sent off with hugs and lies about a date night. 48 hours had shrunk to minutes, and Tom's ultimatum hung like a storm cloud. She'd spent the day writing, pages of apologies, memories, promises, now folded in her purse. The clock hit 6:55. He'd said 7 o'clock. The doorbell rang. She opened it, heart pounding. Tom stood there, no duffel bag this time, just jeans and a faded Sturgill Simpson tee. Texas casual, but his eyes were sharp. Hey, he said, hand in his pockets. Ready? Yeah, she breathed, stepping out. No pickup tonight. He'd walked from the apartment, a mile away. They headed to Joe's Coffee on South Congress, the air thick with roasted beans and anticipation. She'd picked it, neutral ground, where they'd had their first date years ago. He ordered a black coffee. She got an iced latte, her fingers tapping the cup. Tom, she pulled the pages from her purse, sliding them across the table. Read this, please. He unfolded them, his brow furrowing as he scanned her words. I was selfish. You built us a life, and I tore it down. I see you now, every late night, every laugh. I'm begging you to stay. He lingered on the last line. You're my more. Silence stretched, broken only by the hum of traffic outside. Finally, he set the papers down. It's good, Em, he said, voice low, but words aren't enough. Her stomach sank. Then what is? He leaned back, studying her. You hurt me. Sophie, too. I need to know it won't happen again. He pulled his ring from his pocket, rolling it between his fingers. Convince me. She swallowed hard. I ended it with Dave. Told Linda to stay away. I've been a fool, chasing something I already had. You're enough. More than enough. Tears welled up. I'll spend every day proving it. He nodded slowly, then stood. Let's walk. They left Joe's, heading toward the theater. A rom-com neither cared about, just an excuse to sit close. On the way, he stopped under a streetlight, the same kind flickering from that memory of their first car. Sophie threw her diary at you, he said. She's still mad. I know, Emily whispered. I'll fix it. I'll fix us. He held her gaze, then slipped the ring back on his finger. Her breath caught, a flicker of hope. Friday's a start, he said. Not a fix. We're broken, Em, but maybe we can rebuild. He took her hand, his grip firm but warm, and they walked on. The movie blurred by, laughs, popcorn, her shoulder brushing his. Afterward, they stood outside her house, the porch light casting shadows. Sophie's diary flashed in her mind, her parents' disappointment, Kate's betrayal, all still raw. But Tom was here. He stepped closer, his hand on the doorframe. Last chance, Em, he said, voice soft but edged. Something glinted in his pocket, his ring, or another's. She couldn't tell. Yes, she said, stepping into his arms. 1,000 times yes. He didn't pull away, but he didn't kiss her either. We'll see, he murmured, then turned, walking into the night. The pickup's rumble faded down the street, leaving her with the echo of his words and the weight of tomorrow. Sophie watched from her window, eyes softening. Austin hummed on, crickets, neon, a faint twang of K-honky talk. A new beginning, or a pause before the end. The ring stayed on for now,